What's going on, world? Today I am super excited because whether she knows it or not, she has been my mentor. She's taught me things face to face and offline. She has actually changed my career, and she gives me hope every single time that I see her. And I 100% love me some Leigh Brown. What's going on, Leigh?
Oh, I love you too, Marky. Every time I see you, I'm happier. Life is better that way.
Well, thank you. You know what? I pay attention, and I know people don't think we pay attention because we do so many things. And I see how you've structured your business. And there are certain things that I see you do, and I think to myself, okay, let me do that. And I mean, I can go back in time to Inman and you knocking it out there to actually I had the most fun, I think, with you in Arizona when we were both at their state convention with Paula. That was a hoot. The three of
That was
us at the
good.
same time. The three of us at the same. Wait, I don't think anybody could have more fun than that trip, right? And I know that you have products and services. You are a relentless volunteer. You've raised I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars for the Realtor organization. And I think the one thing that I really paid close attention to was when you taught me, I use you in my class, just in case you'll know. I said, Leigh slid into the DM. I said, and she was real politically correct with her message. Marky, you know, there's this thing called Facebook Live that you could do and you can raise money for Realtor Relief. I said, but in real Leigh voice, Leigh wanted to say, now look at here. You do this thing called Facebook Live. How dare you not leverage it for the realtor community? And I showed them all the money that you raised either for the hurricanes or for the fires in California. But you have Leigh Brown University. And I know you teaching people how to get their lives together. And when I came into the world of real estate, I never attended pre-license school. I thought it was a good idea for me to hold my broker's license out the gate. What does one get from the Leigh Brown University, and what are 5 things we can teach people today that can change their real estate trajectory?
So the interesting thing about real estate is that we do get our licenses so easily and call it what it is. Even people that fail the exam 4 times, they know they only failed it because they did not read the book. Let's just call that what it is. But once you get the license, you've now got a license, and then what? And you go to a traditional real estate training experience, and it's a 3-ring binder with some laminated pages, and they sit you down for 2 weeks. And then they give you a telephone and some business cards and say, go find some cousins and friends and sell some houses. And then when you're confused, call us and we'll help you. And it drives me crazy, Marky, that we handle, for most people, this is their largest financial instrument. Now, there's some super wealthy, but that's not my client base. I work with normal people. For my people, it's a big deal. They see that 30 years on the paperwork at closing, and you've seen the blood drain out of their face when it's like $2,049 is your last payment. They're like, because it's a long way away. And they're like, I'm borrowing $150,000. And there's a reality that sets in that the realtors, until they figure out that gap between licensure and knowing what they're doing, they're advising somebody in that really big space without knowing what they're doing. And knowing the laws doesn't make you competent, and it doesn't make you relatable or make it where you can create understanding on the part of the buyer or seller. And in real estate training, we tend to send people out and say, just go figure it out. And if you have a question, call us. And we are training our new realtors on the backs of the consumer. And what's even worse is, you think about it this way, new realtors come in, where do we send them out? Who do we have them work with, buyers or sellers?
Generally, they're going to work with the buyer.
Correct. We send them out as buyer's agents. Go work with some buyers. Here's some leads. Here's some open houses. Go work with buyers. But ask yourself this question: when do people make money on a house? When they buy it or when they sell it?
Oh, we make money on the house when we sell it.
That's the results of what happened when you bought it.
Well, I know the buyer funds the deal.
Right, but when you buy a house.
Yes, when I bought the house.
That purchase decision, you're making money based on your buy decision, not based on your sell decision.
I got you. Okay, I got you.
I didn't word it correctly, but you think about it, it's that it's that time at the buy when you have to be giving the correct advice on market value, structuring the deal properly, giving good advice based on what's happening with roads, what's happening with schools, what's happening with laws and regulations and zoning. All those things add up on the buy side, and we've all seen this. You go to sell somebody's house 5 years from now, they made an awful decision because they didn't get correct advice when they bought. And I say all that to drive home the point that when we take a new realtor out and hand them buyers, and especially if they're first-time buyers, they're very vulnerable. They don't know what's going on. And you've got the blind leading the blind, but the realtor doesn't pay the price in 5 years or 7 years when it's time to sell. It's the consumer that does. So all that being said, I was lucky. So when I came into the business 19 years ago, I came in with my dad. So my dad put me in his hip pocket, and I wasn't allowed to talk to a buyer or seller until I had been with him on a zillion appointments. It was 90 days of, you're going to sit in my back seat, you're going to sit in my pocket, and you're going to hear what I do and see what happens before you are allowed to guide somebody, because it's a really big deal. So I see this gap because as somebody who's been a top producer and still a top producer and training and speaking all over the world, we don't have good comprehensive education between the time of licensure and the time of knowledge, which takes a little while to get there. And then we have these other agents who somehow they make it. Somehow they manage, like Michael Scott in The Office. He's got that book he's writing in his head. Somehow I managed. I feel like he's writing a realtor book because they sell houses by accident. And they're like, I can just sell. People just like me. And their contract packages are never complete, but it's okay because they're lovable. And they just float along, selling $1, $2, $5 million a year. They're doing pretty well. They're feeding the family. They're coming along. And then they don't know how to go from that floating level to, how do I go next level? How do I create a sustainable business that is actually profitable, where I have a P&L and I'm hiring people and I've got this all figured out? So we have those gaps too. And when you're out there with enough realtors, they're all trying to fix the same issues. Even though we're all entrepreneurs, I mean, I'm almost 1.4 million of us out there that are realtors, not counting the licensees. And everybody's got kind of the same issues, but with different clients and in different markets. So long story short, too late, I created Leigh Brown University to say, this is what I have done. This is what I've done. Just Leigh Brown's tools. This is my techniques. This is what I learned from my dad, and put it into a module system so realtors could learn from somebody else who's doing it, how I got from point A to point B. And frankly, you could get all of that if you hire a bunch of coaches, but I know realtors, they don't do what coaches tell them because they're distractible, and coaching's really, really expensive. And so I also didn't want it to be a cost prohibitive thing, because realtors need to get better, because we impact our communities. We impact our neighbors. What we do drives the rate of home ownership. In fact, I might have gotten on a soapbox this past week, and that's one of the things that you do and I do, and I think people love us for it, even though they don't know what to do when we get up on it. But I'm in a room of realtors, and there's maybe, 60 realtors in there, and there were 2 black realtors in the whole room. And I'm talking about rates of home ownership. And if you're listening to this, I hope that you're doing some research, and if you're not, it's out there, and I want you to commit to me to go do some reading. And if you go to nar.realtor, as a member of the National Association, you can pull a ton of reports. And you can pull the annual report done by the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. That's the Realtors. That's the black realtors, if you want to call it what it is. They do an annual report. I'm a member. You're probably a member too, I'm going to guess, because you and I join everything. And then there's the National Association of Hispanic Realtors, NAREP. And then there's the ARIA, the Asian Realtors. You need to go and pull all their reports, because what you'll see is that when we look at the national rate of home ownership, it's lagging right now because millennials have not been starters for houses. They're just now getting there. Inventories, of course, off. Affordability is an issue. But you add all those things up, now look at your different groups. Black home ownership is trailing in a huge way. So I was talking to this room about serving our communities, because what we do as realtors, every day we are serving our communities. We're taking people's lives and helping transform them, because home ownership reduces teenage pregnancy, it reduces drug addiction. It reduces the cycle of negative things in people's lives, and it creates more stable marriages, and it takes people to college, and homeownership changes things. So we can't, as a decent humanity, let one segment of society lag by 12 percentage points. So whose job in the room is it to help create more homeownership opportunities in the Black community? It wasn't these two realtors. They're not supposed to just go work with Black buyers and sellers because they happen to be Black. It's everybody's job to know who your neighbors are and say, how can I help you get there in case you ever want to buy a house one day? Because we also were talking about the language that we use in creating opportunities. And when you think about realtors who jump out of pre-license and they don't know all the language, they think that when they say FSBO, the world knows that it is a for sale by owner, and the world doesn't. And you have to explain things. And the sellers that you tell them we got to reduce your price might get offended by that because they feel like they're negotiating against themselves, when instead, if you explain that the market has rejected the price we picked and we're going to have to make an adjustment, that's more palatable. So when you understand those things, you also understand that if we are realtors who actually love our communities, we have to love our whole communities. And so the whole soapbox I got on was about, first of all, being educated about our profession, and second of all, understanding that we serve communities, and third of all, understanding that we need to be creating.
What I love about the report is the fact that it's kind of startling when we listen to Lauren June speak, the fact that African-American home ownership has not increased since the inception of fair housing, right? So we're kind of right at that 42-ish mark. And kind of take it back, I'm always talking to my oldest son. He came out of college with a relocation package, a signing bonus, and a decent salary. And it's always now, look, we need to create one. I want you when you talked about the purchase, I need his first purchase to be his best purchase. And so because he only gets to leverage this, oh, I'm a first-time home buyer one time, right?
Yes.
So I want to understand all the different grant programs, but I want to understand the community, what's going on in the community. And it's something that I'm very much a part of, because I don't want to unleash my child into the world and his first purchase wasn't his absolute best purchase that will then basically set the tone for the rest of them, because he'll know I need to look at this, and this. Well, in saying that, I remember, because we were talking a little earlier about, and this is what I was actually going to talk about earlier when we were on your show. I remember there was an agent and she wanted to know about 203K loans because she wanted her son to buy essentially a 3 to 4 unit building. So as she was asking the questions, I realized she didn't know anything about purchase rehab deals or multifamily for that matter. And so I asked her straight up, I said, do you want to just refer your child and get a referral fee? She says, no. Why would I want to leave money on the table? One, because you're not equipped to put your child in the best situation. You know nothing. Do you know she would not refer her child? I thought that was the absolute saddest thing that I would have ever seen, that your parent knows they don't know everything about this situation, but for their personal greed, they will put you in, let me watch my tone here. I'm just going to say a half-ass deal.
You can say that in front of me because you know that I like to cuss too for emphasis, but you know, and this is why that situation right there is why realtors as a profession have a bad reputation, because too many realtors out there will scratch and scuffle over a tiny bit of money without looking at the big picture. I mean, for heaven's sakes, if she really wanted her kid to have a good decision, she could have referred them out, and she could have also asked that agent who accepted the referral, will you educate me as we go? She could have used it as a learning experience for herself if she would just take a little bit of humble pie and say, I don't know everything. I'm not going to put somebody else at risk. And so this goes back to when agents get out of pre-license, and you've seen it too. We were both the same way, got our license. We're like, oh, I can do this. I'm good. I've been selling things for years. I can sell houses, without understanding the real impact. Because homeownership is so different than buying a daggum car. But we act like it's just a sale, just a commission. And you see it because first-time buyers, you try to find an agent to help your son. the person who specializes in first-time buyers. When you go to a conference, do realtors brag about that? It's very seldom that they do, except, well, in our classes, because they know we're full of like emotion and heart and stuff. But they don't usually run around saying, I do first-timers. But the luxury people are like, I do luxury. Oh, wonderful. Well, that's cool. You make a lot of money, and I'm glad that you're good at what you do. But we need to, as a profession, learn how to elevate the people who are entering the homeownership space with exactly what you said, because it does set the tone for all their future purchases. It sets the tone for their wealth building. And when we talk about wealth building, I think people get uncomfortable because they think we're talking about like billions, but wealth building is not that kind of wealth. Wealth building is just financial security for the future. So maybe you don't have to lean on Social Security because it's going to be gone by the time we retire, let's be honest. And you don't have to lean on your kids because you would like to, but you don't want to have to. And you want to be able to live and not be extravagant, but live. And homeownership gives that to people, but it starts with first timers. And it also starts with moms like you who get it, because you and I were talking when your son got that job, because both of us were like, we didn't get first jobs like that.
Yes. They weren't giving them out like that when we came out of school.
I don't, if they were, I didn't know about them. Did you know about them? Because that wasn't my world.
You know what you said that was funny to me, and it was co-signing for a car. And I have to remind people, because that is something common. Co-signing for a house is not like co-signing for a car. The two are totally different worlds, but that's what people are used to. Oh, so yeah, I can co-sign for this house just like I did for a car. Oh, no. We need to educate you on what co-signing for a house is like, because it's nothing like that. Or my girlfriends who've bought houses because their credit is great, and then the significant other, right?
No.
And wait, the first thing the significant other will say is, oh, you could just quit claim me. Girl, you do not give up ownership without them also sharing in the financial responsibility. And I used to joke, I think that I was being sexist, because if my girls moved in with the guy, I would always tell her to ask to be quit claim. But if the guy was moving in with the girl, I'm like, oh, you better not. Ain't no way you gonna give him ownership rights, and he don't stand not a financial burden, responsibility, derogatory credit, or nothing. No, we don't do that. But these are just some of the things, just going back in that education process. Oh, I got on my soapbox too. Leigh, go on, finish.
See, but this is why I love you. But I got to tell you, so several years ago, well, a lot of years ago, I was taking a CRS class. And if you're listening to this, that's Certified Residential Specialist. It's the highest education in residential real estate. It's not as hard as CCIM, though, in the commercial world. Let's be honest, that one's so hard, I'm still not past it. But with CRS, I was taking a class in probably 2002 with Chris Bird, and he is my favorite instructor. He teaches financials and wealth building and investments, and he used to be an IRS investigator. So Chris knows this stuff on a really deep level. And so I was in his class, and I had been in the class before because I have taken that class approximately 4 times at this point, because I don't retain everything and I have to keep retaking it because it's intense financial information. That's not my wheelhouse. And I was in the class, and he was asking me how I'm doing, how's my business. He wanted my volume. I told him, what's my net? I told him my net, and he said, now, are you dating anybody? Because I was single at the time. And I said, yes. I said, I've met a really nice one. And Chris is like, pull his credit. I'm like, what? And Chris said, you pull his credit because you have a very successful real estate business, and you do not need to get married to somebody who could mess that up. And so I was like, okay. So I called Steve, and I said, I need to check your credit. And he said, all right, which also probably should have told me he was the right one. So I pulled his credit, and he was like an 810 score, and he owned a house. And I called Chris. I'm like, I think he's all right. Chris looked at it, and he said, you can marry him. And so I did. But it was like the best of my CRS educational moments was Chris Bird telling me to pull Steve's credit. And it has nothing to do with real estate, except it has everything to do with it, because it's like Marky said, that's our job. And so once we become somewhat knowledgeable about how real estate works and all of the socioeconomic impacts that happen to people that we love, when they forget that real estate's a big deal, which means we as realtor professionals have to see it as the big deal it is, so that we can have those tough conversations that talk about quit claims and putting people on deeds and all of those. I mean, we've seen it happen. We've seen people buy a house, get with the wrong person, and get financially ruined. because we didn't, and it's not our fault because they have to have some responsibility, but as an educator at heart, it just makes me think I need to educate harder.
I'm going through that right now with a very dear friend of mine. And what I'm seeing, especially for women who are buying real estate and they're not married, I want to know, what does love got to do with it? And it's always, and the two are totally separate. And I've had to tell a couple of women, it's okay to like him and date him. That don't mean you need to marry him or be with him long term. It means just date him and have fun. And at the moment the love bug hits, right, we throw all common sense out the window. And then we look up 12, 18 months later and we realize the true economic impact of who it is that you're dating. And Leigh, I think we both believe in love. We have children. We've been in long-term stable marriages, but you got to sit down and you got to be realistic about, can you grow with this person, and what kind of love and like do you have, right? And it needs to be beyond the physical. It has to be something else, because all of that will get old.
I think you need to write a class. I think we have your next 1-hour presentation workshop is What's Love Got to Do with It. There's the name. I don't need any royalties from this, but it's going to be huge. Think about this. There's a direct parallel to real estate too, because we've seen buyers walk into a house and just get completely sucked in, and they're in love because it has the right colors and the right smell, and it's got the granite countertops. And you're like, but this is my favorite house ever that I sold. Tried to talk the woman out of buying. It had a natural spring under the house. In the crawl space is a natural spring. And my home inspector, who's not a very scary guy, he's like, don't buy this house. Please don't buy this. Please just don't buy it. And she's like, but I love it. But I love it. And he's like, I've never told anybody don't buy a house, but please, for the love of all that's holy, don't buy this house. And I said, I think you should listen to the inspector. He never says that. And she's like, but I love it. And but I love him. And so she bought the house, and it wasn't 6 months later. She's like, I shouldn't have bought this house. I'm like, girl, we told you. You signed the waivers. We begged you not to. And so you can't get a natural spring out from under house. And so she's, built some little drains and doing the best she can, but she's staying there because nobody wants to buy that house, because she inherited something that she didn't listen to good counsel from people that she should have listened to counsel to. So she wishes she had. And it's the same thing with love. We've all had girlfriends that have dated somebody that were like, I know you love him, but I can't put my finger on it. This is not your forever. But you still have to walk the line, because they might make that decision and you don't want to be cut out of the loop, because you want to guide in the future. But there's a direct correlation. But that's what a good realtor does. We give honest counsel and advice. And it's what you and I do when we are educating realtors. We give honest counsel based on our experience to save them some of this learning curve.
What you said, though, add the disclosure. So at any point, people aren't following your counsel, you need to have something in writing that states how you counseled them and that they went against your counsel.
Yep.
To protect yourself, because we're definitely in a litigious society and your butt will get sued.
And if you're not a lawyer, don't write it yourself. Please call your friend or your cousin. Marky's got a cousin.
My cousin.
But she's got a cousin for everything, let's be honest. So get somebody to write it for you, but you have to protect yourself. And especially in a world where we like to text all the time, your text may or may not hold up. So get their little wet signature on it. It says, I told you not to buy a house with the spring underneath.
Wow. So we're talking reports. We're talking honesty, right? Which is our number one job, because we owe honesty to everyone, whether you're our client or not. We're talking about disclosure. I'm going back to old Carly: obedience, loyalty, disclosure, confidentiality, accountability, and reasonable skill and care. And when we think about this disclosure, it is of all known latent defects. And it's kind of funny how we start selling and we forget all about the fiduciary responsibilities of our job. It becomes about a check. And no matter how big or how small that check might be, you still have the same fiduciary responsibilities, whether you make any money or not.
Yes, that we need to make sure that point gets heard more often.
Because we've just went down the whole honesty trail, right? Of everything that we should and should not be doing. It people might not like how we say it, but it's the honest to goodness truth. And we're not doing it in order to offend anyone, but so that people will actually remember it. They can quote you, and they definitely, they can quote me, and we say it and we stand on it because it's grounded in fact and it's supported by licensed law and the Realtors Code of Ethics. So what are some other things? Because I know that you give away an abundance of information. Every time I hear you, one, I'm going to laugh, but then two, you make me think differently about the role of a realtor. And because you're so honest and you're so passionate about it, but it's grounded in fact. And so in the Leigh Brown University, because we've given them some things, now they're going to really have to think about what is just one more great thing that you think that realtors need to be aware of today.
Okay, so in old real estate training, there is a constant battle with the hour of power. And realtors are always told, have an hour of power. See, you're laughing because how many realtors do we know who've ever done even 1 hour of power? Because they can't, because our jobs are inherently busy and messy, and then there's a fire over here, and then the phone rings, and then I've got to show this house, and then an offer came in, and so we're always juggling a lot of things. So the hour of power doesn't happen, so realtors don't prospect. And realtors who don't prospect don't have a lot of business, and then they go to their broker and they go, I need some leads, because they didn't generate anything, and then they carve out the time. Well, I don't know who to call. I don't know what to say. And they're afraid they're going to get yelled at because we are in a very offended society. You call somebody and they're busy. Now they're mad. And so they're like this with their phones. It's like they know they should, but they won't. And so we changed all of that in my office. And it's one of the things that I've been promoting heavily in my training is the power of one. Not an hour, one phone call. In my world, it's one phone call every day, Monday through Friday, one outbound call. And then I say, now, who can do that? Well, they can all do one outbound call. Now, the question becomes, but Leigh, who do I call? Well, you're going to go to your little smartphones and you're going to go to your contact manager where you have hoarded people, because we're people hoarders. That's all we do. I got your name and your email, save you in my phone. Well, if they're saved in here, you probably know who they are, and they might know who you are. At least Apple's going to say, maybe this is who it is, because in the next iOS update that's coming out, I was reading this last night, there's going to be an option to block all unknown callers. So you can block spam. It's going to make it hard for realtors to prospect in the old way. So you're going to need to make sure you're talking to people you know. So I go to my A's and we'll call somebody saved in my phone. And I'm going to call and I'm going to say, hey, Marky, it's Leigh Brown with RE/MAX. How are you? And you'll say, oh, hey, because if you're saved in my phone, you probably didn't screen me. And by the way, I always use first name, last name, company affiliation. I know you do the same thing. Realtors are doing themselves a huge disservice when they fail to identify themselves professionally. It's a tiny change, but changes everything, because I get business in the grocery store when I answer my phone in the checkout line. Hey, this is Leigh Brown with RE/MAX. And the person in front of me turns around like, oh, you're Leigh Brown? I have a question. Come on, people. It's not rocket science. So anyway, you're going to call that one person and just say, hey, I was thinking about you. How are you? Be a human. Be nice and friendly and ask them how life is. And do not say, well, who do you need to buy or sell a house? Because we get kind of gross, and there's no reason for that if you're just being a human. And if I said I'm Leigh Brown with RE/MAX, then they've heard my company. They should have some kind of a relationship to that in real estate. Now they're thinking about you as realtor. It's not about the scripts. It's about the humanity. So here's the stats on it too. You're going to make one phone call Monday through Friday. That's 5 phone calls a week, average of 4 weeks in a month, 20 phone calls a month. You do any research on sales and stats and outbound calls across professions and across eras, 10% of your outbound calls are going to result in business. If you made 20 outbound calls in that month, that's 2 more deals. Who wouldn't like to have 2 deals a month? Most of the realtors I know are thrilled, whether that's gravy or whether that doubles what they're already doing. And when you break it down into chunks that people can achieve, they're more likely to do it. And that's why that hour of power training gives me heartburn, because we can't and we won't do it. And so we're not doing it, and then we're not successful. But if you make it achievable, people will do it. And then I have one agent who's like, I'm making 2 calls a day. I'm like, well, look at you go. You are doubling the production. And she's like, I'm going to get 4 extra deals. I'm like, that's exactly right. And that's what it boils down to. And it's about these people, the ones that you know. It's not about the Zillow leads. I mean, for the love of all, I do not know why agents are dropping these thousands and thousands of dollars on lead generating sites to get randos coming into their life when they could just call these people. And frankly, we all know what happens when you don't call these people. You see a sign come up 3 doors down from your house and you're like, oh, they didn't call me. And then you take it personally when you never talk to them. So why would they call you? So that's one of our foundational things. And that's not a skill that's exclusive to new realtors. It's also something that every realtor of all experience levels needs, is just to think about creating a disciplined habit that benefits your business, but it benefits these people. Because the other reminder I like to give my agents is that if you aren't reaching out to them, but you know that there are not so savory agents in the market, with whom might they get tangled up? If you don't remind them that you're there, they might wind up with somebody that's less than reputable. So make sure they remember that you're there.
I'm sitting here doing the math, Leigh. And in my marketplace, 1 call per day, netting 2 new transactions every month, could actually increase your income by as little as $120,000. And for some people, that's all they need to stay in this business. That's substantially more than they've ever made in any other occupation. And so the power of one, looking at the numbers, is freaking phenomenal, because who doesn't need an extra minimum almost, right? If you look at the average house prices.
We're not paying $1,000 a month for that. You're not paying anybody. It's just the people that you have had in your life to some degree. Now, what if you just moved to the south side of Chicago from Springfield, Illinois, and you don't know a soul? That's going to be your next excuse. But Leigh, the people in Chicago don't know me. I'm like, call the people in Springfield. Hey, this is Leigh Brown with Remax. How are you? Good. Just checking on you. How you doing? Because they might know somebody in Chicago. They may have a referral in Springfield that will still keep your bills paid while you build your business. You cannot use all of your little tired, sad excuses. And you also should know that if somebody, you call them and they answer the phone, they're ugly to you, you should not have saved them in your phone in the first place. But then instead of deleting them, I just changed the last name to DNA, which means do not answer, so that when they call back, I know they're ugly and I don't have to talk to them.
Now, Leigh, I just did that as a speaker, right? And did the numbers. And I'm seeing the economic impact.
Oh.
If we did the power of one, yes, I think I'm going to implement that. Actually, I could do 2 calls per day, 1 for referrals from my agents, right? And then 1 in order to build my speaking business.
Correct.
And it looks really, really promisingly.
And I'm pretty sure that you could do it, provided you sit down and do it.
Yeah, I mean, and Leigh, and as so do you. Tens of thousands of contacts, right, in this dang on phone. And Messenger really expands that opportunity, right? And so it's absolute, and I have them categorized. So I'm just thinking to myself, 2 phone calls a day, 2 separate categories. I just did the math. Oh, baby, bye. Look, that right there is probably worth the entire cost of the Leigh Brown University. So Leigh, how do people find you online? Like, I know where to find you. I know how to hunt you down. I know how to roll that. Look, if I really want to see you, I need to just start running in the morning and come and just pop out of a hotel.
I wish you would. That's the best time of day.
I know, because you rise early. How does one find you and become a part of Leigh Brown University?
So they should go to leighbrown.com. That's Leigh and Brown like the color, and everything is on leighbrown.com. So you can see my speaking schedule. You can send me business if you have real estate needs in the greater Charlotte, North Carolina market. You can sign up for Leigh Brown University. You can find free videos for training. I mean, everything I have is living in that little house right there. So I'm trying to make life easy for y'all. But you can find me on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn and Pinterest. And do you know Pinterest has videos now? That's the other thing we're doing that's having some cool success, is videos on Pinterest. And we talk about that stuff. And Instagram I love. So just find me anywhere. It's me that responds. So it might take me a minute to get back to you, but I'm a believer that if you're going to do social selling made simple, you should be sociable about it and don't be a bot. Be friendly, be you, and remember that you don't have to be friends with everybody, but you can still be helpful to all of them.
Oh, I love that. You can still be helpful. Well, Leigh, you've definitely helped me out in my career, whether selling real estate or from the training aspect. I know that in a few weeks, and I'm dating this now, that we'll all be heading out to the Realtor Conference and Expo. And so we're looking forward to people coming to our sessions because they can actually get to taste us look, up close and personal to understand that what you see online is also what you're going to get offline. I
Which is why you
appreciate.
should hug our neck, by the way. When you
Yeah,
find us, you should hug our necks because Marky and I are big hugger people. And if you're not, then suck it up anyway because life is better. And Marky, my life's better for having you in it. Nothing makes me happier than watching you shine because you're doing so many good things. And I just love you to pieces.
well, thank you. I love you too. Guys, thank you. Make sure you go to Lee Brown University.